Now let me introduce you to some of the important key concepts in phonetics and phonology, right? And these are very important because we are concerned with the theoretical, fundamental theoretical questions in this discussion. So we are going to discuss phone, phoneme, and allophone, right? To discuss them and then to define them, and then we also try to distinguish among them. That's an important discussion within phonetics and phonology. Right, so sounds and segments, they are important. We need to go through sounds and segments within phonetics and phonology. We need to know what are segments. And that's the basic subject matter of segmental phonology, right? So segments are important and we need to know that what are segments, okay? Then that's very important for phonetic and phonological analyses. We need to know a segment, and then in order to discuss the phonology of a specific language, we need to know what are the phonemes. All right. So what is sound, basically? Sound is, acoustically, it's the pressure which is coming and which is displacing particles in the air, right? But it is a continuous stream of sounds, right? Speech is always a continuous stream of sounds, right? Like there is a word, man, okay? So how many segments are there? How can we define that how many segments are there in this word, man, okay? So when we know phonemes, we can easily define that how many segments are there, right? Then the question is, theoretical question is, that how many segments are there within a particular sound system, which is language, right? So we need to know how can we define a phoneme, how can we define a segment, and then on the basis of these definitions, we can talk about a sound, a typical sound system, particular sound system, or a particular language. All right. When we know phonemes and segments, then we can discuss a specific phonology and also the phonemic system of that specific language, right? Let me tell you one example. Bad and bad. Bad, B-E-D, bad, then bad. So what's the difference between the two words? There's one sound which is different, right? The central vowel sound. In bad, it is E, right? But in bad, it is A. So bad and bad. And the meanings are different. So only one sound has the ability to change the meaning. And this variation in meaning is very important in order to define a phoneme. Phoneme must have the ability to change meaning, right? So what is a phoneme? Let me define a phoneme. It is the smallest unit in phonology. Since phonology or phonological system is a language, so the smallest meaning of sound is a phoneme, right? And it is the segmental unit which further embed into syllable. If we just follow the traditional hierarchic system of linguistic analysis, then sounds or segments, they form syllable, right? And syllable, they form word, and word or words actually, they form utterances or sentences. So that's the hierarchy, right? That the larger unit consists of one or more than one smaller unit, right? So if we follow this hierarchy, then sounds make syllable, and syllables make word, and word make the utterances and sentences. All right. So phoneme has the ability to change meaning, and this variation in meaning is very important. This is the typical requirement from any phoneme, that it must change meaning, right? Like these two words are there, white and right, right? So white is different than right. White, wo sound, wo, the first consonant within both of these words, they have the ability to change meaning. So a phoneme must change meaning. It should bring variation in meaning, right? Then cat versus bat, right? So k and b are different, and therefore the words are different, right? Okay, so phonemes, they have the ability to change meaning. And conventionally, when something is phonemically written, and phoneme is always written within slashes, right? Phonemes are written within phonetics and phonology with the help of these slashes, right? Phonemes are determined by linguists the students of language sciences, they actually follow various mechanisms, various sorts of methodologies for the study. They form lists and they compare various sounds, and then they contrast various sounds. And then on the basis of their analysis, which is basically comparison and contrast, they decide that how many phonemes are there in a language and how can they describe them, right? Phonemes, they are different in different contexts, right? And their functions are also different, right? There are various phonemes which have variants, all right? And therefore, they are different in different contexts, right? But then, how is a variant the part of phoneme? We need to know, with the help of our analysis, that how those sounds are working as allophones within a specific phoneme, right? So phoneme is a group or class of sound events having common patterns of articulation. So phoneme is basically a group or a class where there are many members, variants, and those variants are allophone, right? So if phoneme is a group, then allophones are the group members, all right? So you should remember that spellings are not a reliable source to just determine a phoneme, right? Because at times English spellings are different, all right? And we should not rely on spelling. Like there is a word, phone and foam. So the first consonant in these two words is the same, ph, right? So you should not rely on spelling. We need to know sounds and the analysis of sound in order to define segments and phonemes. Now let me just define what is allophone. Allophone is a definable systematic variant of phoneme, right? Systematic variant because there is a specific system followed by that phoneme, right? That variant for a phoneme. Compare these three sounds, three words basically: sill, still, and spill. Sill, still, and spill, right? So the s, the first consonant in these words is s, but they are variants. They are not similar s, right? One more example: seed, steed, and speed, right? So the first s in all these three words is different. The pitch, if we analyze it experimentally, then the pitch in speed, the s sound in speed is lower than steed, which is again lower than seed, right? So these three are variants, and the s, this s, basically this does not change meaning, s, right? But it is a variant, okay? Key and car, key and car, right? So the k in key is a little bit pronounced from a little bit the farther, the front part of the mouth, right? But in car, it is towards the velar, right? So it is more velar, the k in car, than k in key, right? So that's a variant of k. These two are variants of the same k phoneme, right? And then t in these two words, true and t, right? True and t. So both of them are different. You see, true, in the true, the t is more towards the alveolar ridge, and in the t, it is more towards the tip of the tongue and towards the front part of the tongue, right? And one more example, that 10th and 10, right? So the n in 10th is basically a dental n, but in 10, the n sound in 10 is more alveolar, right? So that's the difference. That otherwise, this is the same phoneme n, but both have various alternations, various differences, and the properties are different. So that's a discussion on allophone. That allophone is basically a definable systematic variant of phoneme. All right. Phone, it is a sound pattern having some acoustic feature. Phone is a sound. It's neutral, by the way, phone. But it is a sound which has a specific acoustic pattern and acoustic features, right? Phoneme, it's a group of sound having the ability to change meaning, right? To bring variation in meaning. That's phoneme in a specific language. And then allophones are the systematic variants of phoneme. So that's the difference among phone, phoneme, and allophone.